Thanks very much. And thank you for the excellent presentation. I think you really framed it in a solutions-oriented way. And I'd like to start with your point around incentivizing biosecurity, because I think that's really a central pillar of what we need to do going forward. But to think about it more holistically, it's not just biosecurity, it's a whole range of practices. Right? So it's better quality nutrition, it's more targeted nutrition to the production cycle, a better quality water, better ventilation in production facilities, everything from enhanced vaccination coverage for vaccine-preventable diseases to, practices like all in, all out, where reduce risk because you've got, less intermingling of animals of different origins and ages. So I think, and Hung made this point very nicely, we need to work with the farmers and the producers, particularly in the extensive production system, to increase the adoption and the uptake of these practices. And I think to really see it as in their economic long-term interest, that it's not just the right thing to do, but it's the cheaper thing to do, it's the easier thing to do, and it should be the industry standard. I think, after all, healthier animals are more productive animals, are more profitable animals. I also want to just touch on the capping of antimicrobial consumption, because I think, again, Hung spoke to this, and in Vietnam, 200 to 300 milligrams per PCU. I know that in the Van Boekel paper, it's 50 milligrams per PCU. The 50 milligrams per PCU, which is also in the O'Neill report, I think is ambitious for probably all but a very subset of high-income countries right now. But the point is around target setting and time-bound, measurable progress towards target setting. And I think, irrespective of what those targets are, if we begin to start setting targets around reducing antimicrobial consumption, I think we begin to make strides forward. And I want to highlight that Thailand has, right here, done an amazing job, this, in a very short period of time, in having a national strategic plan for AMR that has set time-bound targets, 30% reduction of antimicrobial use in livestock production by 2021. I think that's remarkable, and it should be. And Vietnam is also very committed to this issue. These should be examples not just for the region, but really around the world. We can do this. I think it also allows us to recommit to phasing out medically important antimicrobial growth promoters from livestock production. And I think particularly for those highest priority, critically important antimicrobials that are WHO listed for human health care. There's also a real problem, I think, around mass prophylaxis in livestock production and the definition around what that is. There's a lot of gray space and a wide latitude in how people perceive and use antimicrobials for mass prophylaxis. So I think we need more clarity and precision there. I think the point has also been made that, actually you made in your opening, that increasingly with this better suite of good management and production practices, the economic cost associated with phasing out non-therapeutic use of antimicrobials becomes negligible. It's on the order of 1% to 3%, which is not statistically different from no impact at all. And so that's not going to be the case in extensive production systems, obviously, but it's all the more reason why we need to recommit to helping and promoting the uptake and adoption of these better suite of good management practices. And I think, so the question is, where do we focus? And how can we, in a limited resources environment, get the most impact? And I think part of that is around prioritizing those places in production context where we think we can get the most impact and we can really achieve something in the near term. And I would suggest a ranking of places based on perhaps 4 pillars. One being where there's little to no regulation or oversight of antimicrobial use. The second being where there's an acceleration, as you showed in your slides, of demand for animal source nutrition, particularly for poultry and for swine that we know use more antimicrobials than cattle do. The third would be rising rates of antimicrobial usage. And the last would be concerning trends in resistance. And the problem right now is, particularly from the livestock production sectors, the data on usage and consumption and on surveillance for resistance is really in its infancy. And so I think we need to redouble efforts to get that data so we know where we can get the most bang for our buck. Just lastly, I know I'm running out of time, on the user fee that you mentioned for imposing a tax effectively on antimicrobials. I think we have to be really careful about that because it has potentially the side effect of disincentivizing even therapeutic usage of antimicrobials if we put a tax at the point of sale. And that's really troubling in terms of ethical animal care, animal treatment issues. I do agree, and the point has been made yesterday as well, that antimicrobials should come under the authority and oversight of veterinarians. But as we've seen, the veterinary sector has been neglected, has been under-resourced, underfunded for decades, and there aren't many veterinarians or animal health professionals really in many of the lower and middle income countries. And so I think we really need to commit to that, and there should be a revolution around prioritizing resources for veterinary system strengthening. And last point is that I think in those places where antimicrobials are under the authority and supervision of veterinarians, we need to take a hard look at delinking antimicrobial prescription and sales and the profit incentive. And I think rethinking business models around selling veterinary services and veterinary skills and less around selling antimicrobials and pharmaceuticals. Thanks.